The wind screamed across the frozen surface of Glacius 7 like a wounded animal. Inside the mining facility's control room, Marcus Chin stared at his monitors with tired eyes. He had been alone on this ice moon for 6 months, watching machines drill into the frozen ground, pulling out rare minerals worth more than his entire life savings. The coffee in his thermos had gone cold hours ago. Marcus rubbed his face and glanced at the storm warning flashing red on his screen. This was the worst blizzard of the season. Temperature outside had dropped to minus 160 degrees. Nothing could survive out there for long. That's when he saw them on the thermal scanner. 3 heat signatures huddled near the facility's exterior thermal vents. At first, Marcus thought the equipment was malfunctioning. Nothing living should be outside in this storm. He switched to visual cameras, but the blizzard made it impossible to see clearly through the swirling ice and snow. Marcus pulled on his thermal suit and grabbed an emergency beacon. Company policy was clear about this situation. No unauthorized contact with alien species. No exceptions. His supervisor had drilled that into his head 100 times. But those heat signatures were fading. Whatever was out there was dying. He cycled through the airlock and stepped into the storm. The wind hit him like a physical wall, nearly knocking him backward. Ice crystals pelted his helmet with sharp pinging sounds. Marcus followed the scanner display inside his helmet, moving slowly through the knee-deep snow. Then he saw them. 3 creatures unlike anything he had expected. They looked like dragons from ancient Earth legends, but their scales were crystalline and reflected the facility's lights in rainbow patterns. The largest one, nearly 12 feet long, had wrapped her wings around the 2 smaller ones. Her scales, which should have been glowing with inner warmth, were growing dull and gray. The dragon raised her massive head as Marcus approached. Her eyes were intelligent and filled with desperation. She opened her mouth, and sounds came out that Marcus's translator earpiece struggled to process. Please, shelter, dying, cold? The words were broken and harsh, clearly painful for her to speak. The translator indicated she was speaking a crude version of Standard, the common language used in human space. But her accent was so thick, so unfamiliar, that the device could barely understand her. Marcus stood frozen, not from the cold but from shock. These were Draconians. He had heard stories about them. Proud warriors. Territorial. Dangerous. They never asked anyone for help. Their culture considered it the ultimate shame. Yet here she was begging. The smaller dragon beside her, probably her mate, was unconscious. Dark fluid leaked from cracks in his scales, freezing almost instantly in the terrible cold. The smallest one, a youngling no bigger than a large dog, whimpered and pressed against its mother. Please, the mother said again. Her head lowered until her snout touched the ice. A bow. A submission. We die here, if you leave us. Marcus's hands trembled inside his gloves. His supervisor's voice echoed in his memory. Company policy. No exceptions. He could lose his job. He could lose his contract. His family back on Earth depended on the money he sent home every month. But he looked into the mother dragon's eyes and saw something he recognized. The same desperation he had felt when his own family faced starvation before he took this job. The same fear he had seen in his sister's face when debt collectors came to their door. Marcus made his decision. Can you walk? He asked, knowing his translator would convert his words into something she could understand. The mother dragon's eyes widened with surprise and hope. She nodded slowly. Follow me, Marcus said, turning back toward the facility. Stay close. The airlock is big enough for all of you. Behind him, he heard her struggling to her feet. He heard her wake her mate. He heard the youngling's confused chirping sounds. And he heard her whisper one word that his translator caught clearly. Human. It sounded like a prayer. The storage bay had never been meant for living creatures. Marcus worked quickly, pushing supply crates against the walls and dragging in 3 industrial heaters normally used to keep equipment from freezing. The Draconian family huddled together in the center of the room, their crystalline scales slowly beginning to glow again as warmth returned to their bodies. The mother dragon, who introduced herself as SS Rathka, watched Marcus with careful eyes. Every movement he made, every tool he picked up, she tracked with the awareness of a predator. But there was something else in her gaze now. Confusion. Maybe even guilt. Why you help? She asked, her voice still rough with the unfamiliar human language. Humans, not help others. Humans take. Humans conquer. Marcus paused while adjusting a heater. He had heard those same words before, whispered in bars and trading posts across human space. Other species feared them. Some hated them. Humanity had spread across the stars like wildfire, claiming worlds and resources with corporate efficiency. Not all humans are the same, Marcus said quietly. Just like not all Draconians are the same, I guess. SS Rathka made a sound that might have been a laugh. True words, human. We are refugees. We run from war. Corporate armies fight over our homeworld. We escape with only our lives. The youngling Kerrix crept closer to Marcus. The small dragon tilted its head, studying him with bright amber eyes. Marcus slowly extended his hand, palm up, the way he might approach a nervous animal. Kerrix sniffed carefully, then made a soft chirping sound. Kerrix never see human before, SS Rathka explained. He think you would be bigger, more fearsome. Sorry to disappoint, Marcus said with a small smile. The injured mate, Tizeron, finally opened his eyes. He tried to stand but collapsed with a pained hiss. Dark fluid still leaked from cracks in his scales. Marcus moved toward him with a medical scanner, but Tizeron growled, his teeth bared. Tizeron, no, SS Rathka said firmly. The human helps us. He saves our lives. Humans help no one but themselves, Tizeron growled back in their own language, but Marcus's translator caught the words. He wants something. They always want something. Marcus ignored the hostility and ran the scanner over the injured dragon. The readings made him wince. Internal damage. Broken ribs if Draconians had ribs. Fluid building up in what might be lungs. Without treatment, Tizeron would die within days. I can try to help him, Marcus said looking at SS Rathka. But I'm not a doctor. I'm just an engineer. I fix machines, not people. Please try, SS Rathka said. I beg you again. 2 times in one day I beg. My ancestors would be ashamed. Marcus spent the next hour rigging together medical equipment that was never designed for alien biology. He used SS Rathka's descriptions of draconian anatomy to guide him, adjusting settings and modifying attachments. His hands moved with the practiced efficiency of someone who had spent years making broken things work again. While he worked, a soft chime echoed through the facility. Marcus's blood ran cold. He pulled up his wrist display and read the message. His face went pale. What wrong? SS Rathka asked, sensing his fear. Corporate inspection, Marcus said slowly. A supply ship is coming. They'll be here in 3 days. They'll scan the entire facility. They'll find you. Then we leave, SS Rathka said, trying to stand. We not make trouble for you. You save us. We leave now. Your mate can't walk, Marcus said firmly. And the storm outside will last 2 more days. You'll die out there. Better we die than you lose everything, SS Rathka said quietly. Marcus looked at the dragon family. At Kerrix, who was now playing with a piece of thermal blanket. At Tizeron, fighting just to breathe. At SS Rathka, who had already sacrificed her pride twice to save her family. No one's dying, Marcus said. I'll figure something out. I always do. But even as he said the words, he wondered if this time he had finally bitten off more than he could chew. Marcus had not slept in 36 hours. His eyes burned with exhaustion as he sat beside Tizeron, monitoring the makeshift medical equipment he had cobbled together from mining tools and diagnostic scanners. The dragon's breathing had stabilized, but barely. Every few hours, Marcus had to adjust the fluid drains he had inserted between the crystalline scales. SS Rathka watched from across the room where Kerrix slept curled against her side. She had been watching the human for 2 days now, and everything she thought she knew about his species was crumbling like ice in spring. You should rest, she said softly. Your body needs sleep. He needs me more, Marcus replied, checking another reading. If this pressure builds up again, he'll drown in his own blood. Why? The question came out sharper than SS Rathka intended. Why you do this? You lose job. You lose money. Maybe you go to human prison. Why you care about strangers? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. His hand rested on Tizeron's side, feeling the slow rise and fall of breath. My sister was sick once. Back on Earth. We had no money for doctors. I was just a kid, maybe 10 years old. I watched her get worse every day. He paused, his voice growing softer. A stranger helped us. An old woman who lived down the street. She wasn't a doctor either, but she knew old remedies, natural medicines. She sat with my sister every night for 2 weeks. Asked for nothing in return. My sister lived because of her kindness. SS Rathka's eyes widened. This is very undraconian. We help family. We help clan. But strangers? This is weakness. Maybe, Marcus said with a tired smile. Or maybe it's the only thing that makes us strong. Kerrix stirred and waddled over to Marcus. The youngling had grown bold over the past 2 days. Now he climbed onto Marcus's lap without fear, chirping softly. Marcus pulled out his personal tablet and showed KRX pictures of Earth. Oceans. Forest cities that touched the sky. Pret Tai, KRX said, one of the few human words he had learned. Pret Tai world. Marcus laughed, the first genuine laugh he had managed in days. Yeah, buddy? Sometimes it is pretty. Disaron's eyes suddenly opened. He looked at Marcus with confusion, then at his mate. Why? Why does the human still help? SS Rathko, what did you promise him? Nothing, she replied. He asks for nothing. Impossible, Disaron growled weakly. Everyone wants something. Marcus met the injured dragon's gaze. I want you to live. I want your family to be safe. That's all. Disaron stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, something shifted in his eyes. The suspicion began to fade, replaced by something Marcus could not quite identify. Respect maybe. Or perhaps just exhaustion. In my delirium, Disaron said slowly, I spoke words. Did you hear them? Marcus hesitated. The translator picked up something about star charts. Ancient maps. I didn't understand all of it. Disaron and SS Rathka exchanged a look. After a moment, SS Rathka spoke. Our family guards knowledge. Maps to worlds beyond corporate control. Habitable planets that no one has claimed. We were taking them to a safe place when mercenaries attacked our ship. The crash, Marcus said, understanding flooding through him. They shot you down. Yes, SS Rathka confirmed. The data cores are still in our ship. If the inspection team finds them, the corporation will have them. They will claim those worlds. More war. More conquest. Marcus stood up so quickly that KRX tumbled off his lap with an indignant squeak. Where's your ship? 3 kilometers north. But human, the storm. The storm is dying down, Marcus said, already moving toward his thermal suit. If I don't get those data cores before the inspection team arrives, all of this was for nothing. You will die out there, Disaron said flatly. Marcus smiled as he sealed his helmet. Probably not. I'm pretty good at not dying. SS Rathka watched him cycle through the airlock into the frozen wasteland beyond. She turned to her mate and spoke in their own language. Maybe humans are not what we thought. The wreckage of the draconian ship jutted from the ice like broken bones. Marcus trudged through snow that reached his knees, his breath fogging inside his helmet despite the thermal suit's best efforts. The wind had died down to a mere howl instead of a scream, but the temperature still registered minus 120 degrees. Through the swirling snow, Marcus spotted movement near the crashed ship. His heart sank. 3 corporate salvage drones circled the wreckage like mechanical vultures, their cutting lasers already slicing through the hull. They were automatic units, programmed to claim any valuable materials they found. Marcus had maybe 10 minutes before they reached the ship's data storage compartment. He pulled out his mining charge detonator, normally used for controlled explosions in ice walls. His hands shook as he adjusted the frequency. One pulse would disable the drones, but it would also send an alert to corporate headquarters. They would know someone was interfering with company property. No choice. Marcus triggered the pulse. The drones sparked and fell from the ship like dead insects. Marcus climbed through the torn hull, his suit's lights cutting through the darkness inside. Ice had formed over everything. The ship's interior was a frozen tomb. He found the data storage compartment near what must have been the navigation deck. The cores were crystalline cylinders, each one glowing faintly with internal light. Marcus grabbed all 5 and stuffed them into his equipment bag. That's when his suit's alarm screamed. Hull breach. A jagged piece of metal had torn through his left leg seal during the climb. Marcus felt the cold immediately. It was like being stabbed with 1,000 frozen knives. His leg went numb within seconds. The suit's emergency sealant foamed around the tear, but it was not enough. Not in this temperature. He activated his emergency beacon and started back toward the facility. Each step was agony. His vision blurred. The bag with the data cores felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Marcus fell once. Then twice. The 3rd time he could not get back up. This is it, he thought distantly. This is how I die. At least the dragons will be safe. Through his fading consciousness, Marcus heard a sound. A roar that cut through the wind. Then warmth surrounded him, pressing against his back. He felt himself being lifted. Stupid human, Disaron's voice rumbled. Brave. But stupid. Marcus tried to speak but could not. His body was shutting down, pulling all heat to his core to keep him alive just a few moments longer. SS Rathka appeared on his other side. Both dragons pressed close to him, their scales glowing bright with bioluminescent heat. Kerrix ran ahead, his smaller body leaving a trail through the snow. "Stay awake, Marcus Chin," SS Rathka commanded. "You do not die for us. We do not allow it." The journey back was a blur of pain and warmth and strange floating sensations. Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness. Once he thought he heard singing. Deep, harmonic sounds that resonated in his chest. Draconian songs, perhaps. Songs for the dying or songs for heroes. He could not tell which. Then there was brightness and the hiss of an airlock cycling. Hands, human hands touching his face. A woman's voice, sharp and professional. "Get him to medical now. He's hypothermic. Second-degree frostbite on the left leg." Marcus forced his eyes open. A woman in a corporate inspector's uniform leaned over him. Behind her, SS Rathka, Tisharan, and Kerrix stood together, ready to fight or flee. "Inspector Rodriguez," the woman said, seeing Marcus's confusion. "And before you panic, I'm not here to arrest anyone." She leaned closer and whispered so only Marcus could hear. "I'm part of the network. The underground. We help refugees." She smiled slightly. "I came early to see if you were one of the good ones." Marcus tried to laugh but it came out as a cough. "Did I pass?" "With flying colors," Rodriguez said. "Now rest. We have a lot to talk about when you wake up." Marcus woke to find Kerrix curled up on his chest, the youngling's warm scales pressed against him like a living heating pad. His left leg throbbed with dull pain, wrapped in medical bandages that smelled of antiseptic gel. He was alive, which surprised him more than it should have. Inspector Rodriguez sat across the room, examining the data cores Marcus had risked his life to retrieve. SS Rathka and Disaran stood on either side of her, no longer looking like refugees but like the proud warriors their species was known to be. "These maps," Rodriguez said quietly, "could save thousands of lives. Maybe tens of thousands. There are 17 habitable worlds here that no corporation has claimed yet. Refugees from a dozen species could start over." Marcus sat up carefully, dislodging Kerrix, who chirped in sleepy protest. "How many people are in your network?" "More than you'd think," Rodriguez replied. "Corporate employees, ship captains, station managers. People who are tired of watching families torn apart by wars over resources and territory. We move refugees quietly, one group at a time, to places where the corporations haven't reached yet." "And now you want these maps," Dizaran said. It was not a question. Rodriguez met his gaze steadily. "I want to copy them. The originals stay with you. Your family paid in blood for this knowledge. But if you let us share it, we can help so many others." SS Rathka looked at Marcus. "What do you think, Marcus Chin? You save our lives. You earn right to speak." Marcus thought about his sister back on Earth, still struggling to pay off medical debts. He thought about all the families trapped in corporate contracts, working their entire lives just to survive. He thought about refugees freezing on ice moons because they had nowhere else to go. "Copy them," he said. "But don't just give them to your network. Spread them everywhere. Public networks, data drops, message boards. Make it impossible for the corporations to suppress. Let everyone know these worlds exist." Rodriguez smiled slowly. "That's treason against every corporate charter in human space. You'd be wanted criminals. All of you." "Good," Marcus said. "I was getting bored of honest work anyway." The next 6 hours moved quickly. Rodriguez had equipment on her ship that could duplicate the data cores perfectly. She made 3 copies. One for her network, one for Marcus, and one that she immediately began uploading to every public communication channel she could access. "It'll take them days to scrub this from all the networks," she said with satisfaction. "By then, millions of people will have copies. The secret's out." Saran approached Marcus as they prepared to leave. The big dragon lowered his head in a formal bow. "You could have let us die. You could have taken the maps for yourself. You could have traded us to your corporation for rewards. But you did none of these things. In draconian culture," SS Rathka added, "there is a concept. Life debt. When someone saves your life, they become part of your family. Forever. We cannot repay what you have done, Marcus Chin. So instead, we claim you as ours." She placed a clawed hand over her heart, then reached out and touched Marcus's chest. "You are first human of honor. First of your species to join a draconian clan. Kerrix's children will sing songs of you." Marcus felt his throat tighten with emotion. "I just did what anyone should do." "No," Dizaran said firmly. "You did what humans could do if they chose. You showed us what humanity means when it is not corrupted by greed." 3 months later, Marcus stood on a planet with 3 suns, watching the first refugee ships land. Draconians, humans, and a dozen other species working together to build something new. Rodriguez's network had grown exponentially. The star charts had sparked a movement across human space. Not all corporations were happy. Some called Marcus a traitor. Some put bounties on his head. But others, regular people working regular jobs, called him something else. They called him Hope. Kerrix, now almost twice his original size, bounded through the alien grass chasing something that looked like a floating jellyfish. SS Rathka and Tisharan stood beside Marcus, watching the construction of the first colony buildings. "What do we call this place?" SS Rathka asked. Marcus smiled, watching the 3 suns paint the sky in colors Earth had never seen. "New Start," he said. "We call it New Start." And for the first time in his life, Marcus Chin felt like he was finally home.